Hi, welcome back to the Blessed Bonds podcast. Today I have Maverick on. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Maverick Latimer. I'm 17 years old, and I'm really excited to be on the podcast. And I'm also probably just really excited in general because it's almost Christmas. But yeah, I'm a young entrepreneur. I've started businesses when I was 7 years old, selling candy and candy machines in stores. And then with the help of my dad and brothers, we've evolved and done tons of different businesses. Our current business right now is Kid War Plan, and that's kind of what we've been working on. But other than that, I'm a Christian. I love Jesus, and that's kind of why the whole business thing ties into this is because I feel like my goal personally is to make tons of money and then give it wherever people need it, wherever God wants me to send it. There we go. So yeah,
Gotcha.
that's a little bit about myself.
Yeah, and with what you just said there about like the money. So like I was writing a part of my book today, and it was about like being content with what God has given you. And a part that I was reading about was to not be all about the money and all about money because money's
Mhm.
gonna come and go. It's not doesn't matter when you get to heaven. Like that's not gonna be something that matters. And so definitely making an impact matters. And so I think that's a really good reason to I think we all have a reason to work, and we all have a reason that we do things. And so I
Mhm.
think that's a really good reason to like do what you
Yeah,
do. Yeah.
it's also like people view money as different things, and a lot of people like idolize money when in reality it's like a tool. It's like a wrench or
Mhm.
like a screwdriver, and like a wrench or screwdriver, they have a certain purpose and they work and they do their job perfectly. And people will try to use money for things that aren't ideal when you should be using it for like there's so many different things you can use it for.
For sure.
And you can use it for good or for bad. And so
Mhm.
my goal is to hopefully use it for good as much as I
Right.
can.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like you can choose whatever you do in life. Like you have a good path, you can have a bad path, and you have to choose like what you do. Like each day, you have to choose. And I feel like yeah, money can definitely be idolized, and it makes me so sad because I'm like, money shouldn't be the end goal. Money should be like a stepping stone. Like it's helpful and it'll help you, but it shouldn't be your main goal. Like okay, why do you work? Because I want money. Well, why do you want money? Because I want to be rich? No, because you want to help other people. Because you want
Hmm.
to do other things. You want to have experiences. Because I love traveling, and so I want to make money and go on mission trips because then I get to travel. It makes me happy, but I'm also helping other people and like making other people happy. That kind of like
Hmm.
makes sense.
And I think sometimes people, especially when you're not like fully trusting God, will like get scared, you know?
Hmm.
And we're both like not fully adults yet, so we don't have to
Right.
worry about like taxes or any of the things that
Hmm.
are really annoying, you know? But when somebody's in like a tight position and they really need money, they'll take their eyes off of other things and focus on that. And then from that, you get like kind of a scarcity mindset, like, no, 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 I don't want to be poor. So I got to like focus on just making money and then having
Hmm.
a lot of money. And that's kind of the wrong mindset. Because if you really trust in God and believe that like it'll all work out, God will provide. I just need to stay focused on what He's calling me towards. It'll all work out. And you'll
Yeah.
be happy too.
Hmm. Yeah, because money's never gonna make you happy because you're always gonna want more of it. I was reading about that this morning in the Bible about it's like you're never gonna have enough. Like you're always gonna want more, and that's not like what you want to be stuck into. It's like oh, I just need more and more and more, because I mean, at one point you're gonna pass away and you can't take your money with you, and it's like you're gonna
Hmm.
be lying on your deathbed and you can't spend all your money. It's like oh well, I should have valued my life and not just valued how much money I have. And
It's
so
really sad.
it is, because a lot of people think about that. And I heard Trent Shelton one time, he was, or I think it was at FHL, he was talking about like your self worth over your net worth, because who you are and like as a person, because money's gonna change, but who you are, you'll change, but who you are is like actually matters in the end than how much money is in your bank account.
Hmm. And this is kind of I already knew we were going to go off subject because that's how like lots of interviews go. But
Right.
like the richest person in the world, which is Solomon, which is like a super weird story because God literally gave him like a blank check and was like anything you want, you can have it, which is kind of crazy. Like
Right.
that's insane. And he asked for like knowing exactly what his purpose is and how he can help God, basically.
Hmm.
And because that, God was like, because you asked for something so righteous and so good, I'm going to give you all this wealth on top of it. And so people will say, that's weird because some people believe that wealth is the root of all evil, you know?
Mhm.
And they're like, money's bad. Like a lot of Christians think that they're like, money's bad, have being rich. So then why would God give that to him as an extra bonus onto what he already asked for? It's because
Right.
he knew Solomon would use it for good. Well, then, bad things happen, and like that's where
Right.
sin comes in, and it can ruin your life. But that just shows that like you can still be super rich and make a huge impact and
Mhm.
follow God at the same time.
For sure. And I think that kind of happened with Job is because like everything that he had was taken away from him. And so we have to remember that we can be rich for a second, and then if our eyes are not on God, he will take it all away.
Oh yeah.
It will go bye-bye. Like he will not keep that in your life if it is distracting you from him. So you have to have like a good balance of like money and all that, but have a good relationship with Christ. Like put that first. If money is first, then God's gonna knock that down. So you have to find him. And I
Hmm.
think I had that
Yeah.
when I was injured, is like I had idolized my sport. I was like, this is more important to me than my relationship with God. I need to work on this. And I went through an injury, and God was like, hey, now you have to step away from your sport because you have to see me. And I feel like God will take things away to make sure that your eyes are on Him and not on these worldly things.
And then the awesome part about Job is that it's actually like a happy story at the end, is that he got
Mhm.
everything back plus more.
Right.
And I also feel it doesn't specify. There's a lot of mysteries in Job
Mhm.
because of how like it's a weird book too. There's a lot
Yeah.
like you can go deep into it. Is that so many bad things happen and that like his kids got taken away from him and his servants and all the things. It's like, can those be repaid in like more cattle and stuff? So my personal theory is that all his kids went to heaven and they're chilling, because
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a little crazy. But yeah,
It'd be
it's
so
it's a
sad.
crazy story. That'd be so sad. Job would be very sad. But I think it was really a happy ending at the end.
Yeah, because he was able to, and I think it was really cool how in the beginning he like all those things were taken away from him and he still praised God. And I feel like that's something that we
Hmm.
don't do a lot. Sometimes we're like, oh, well, you did something bad or something bad happened. I'm not going to praise you. Why would I praise that? And it's like, no, because just because something's happening right now, it's going to have better, like later, it's going to be better. That kind of makes sense. It's going to
Hmm.
be better
Yeah.
later. You have to go through the struggle to have the success at the end.
When you just said how God was like, nope, now you got to focus on me more, like, is that before or after you started interviewing people and writing your book and doing all of the things you're doing now?
It was like right before. It was before
It
because
was
that
right
was what
before.
caused me to do this.
Really?
Yeah, so
Well,
I
that's
like okay,
awesome.
I can kinda, like, tell you. So, um, my, like, main part of my testimony. So I went through an injury in, like, March, and, I was, like, playing basketball, and I, like, sprained my ankle, and I thought I sprained it. I went to the doctor, we got an X-ray, and the X-ray is like, "It's not broken." And I was like, "Cool, so I'm fine, I'm healed." I thought that not broken meant it was fine, but it was, like, really big and purple. I don't know what I was doing. And so I went back to swim, I kept swimming, and then, like, a couple weeks later, like, a month later, I guess, I, swam a big event, and it's, like, a mile, so, that's, like, 20
Wow.
minutes of swimming and, like, no stop, so it was, like, I just keep going, and I still wasn't fully healed, but I thought, "Okay, I'm gonna be fine, I'm healed, it's fine." And I had this, like, feeling that God was like, "Rose, you need to stop," but I was like, "No, I need to keep swimming, like, this is my goal, this is my dream, this is my life." And so I had this feeling that God was like, "Rose, stop. Why aren't you listening?" And I was like, "No, I'll deal with you later. Let me finish, like, be the best." And so I was in that event and like we dove off the blocks and I felt something like kind of like in my ankle and I was like, that's weird. I don't know what that is. And then on my first like flip on the wall, there's like, it's okay. So it's short course. So there's like 30 something like flip turns, or it was long course. So 30. Um, so it's 66, like, so 25. Have you, like, you know what pool looks like a
Hmm.
25.
Yeah.
So it's 66 of those. And I like the first one, like the first flip I did, I push off the wall and I feel something tear. And I was like,
Oh
shoot,
no.
this is like 30 seconds into the race. Like, I still have a whole 20 minutes left. And I was like, well, I'm not going to stop. I had that like planned out. I was like, I'm not stopping. And so I kept swimming. I kept feeling like tear. And I was like, okay, well, this is going to be a problem. And so I got out at the end. We were like, okay, she's messed. Like, she's got some problems going. And so we scheduled an MRI. And so I went to the MRI and they were like, okay, so you tore your ankle when you were playing basketball. Like you tore a tendon. And I was like,
Wow.
how? Like I tore a tendon. And I was like, well, okay. And they were like, so you're going to be in a boot now for a month. And I was like, if I would have just listened the first time, then I wouldn't have had to have an extra month. And I was like, okay,
Hmm.
whatever, God. I see that I guess I have to stop and be fine or whatever. And so I was in a boot for a month, and so I couldn't swim. At that point, swim, we have like 2.5 hour practices every night, and then on Saturdays, 2 hour practices. And so it was like something that I did all the time. And I was like, now I have to like live my life and do something else. And so I was really mad. Like I can't explain like the anger, and I was sad too because I was like, this is something that I loved, and you took it away from me. And so I feel like so it was like 4 weeks, and so the first week I was kind of just like, I get a week off. Like I was like, I get a month off of swim. I'm gonna be fine. This is gonna be kind of nice. I get to like relax. The second week, it was like I think the middle 2 weeks it was like so hard. Like I was like crying myself to sleep every night. I was like mean to people. I was not happy because I was like, God, and I kept asking God why. And I was like, why would you do this to me? This doesn't make sense. And then I was scrolling on my phone one day and I saw this video and it was like, if you're idolizing it, are you going to be okay if God takes it away? And I was like, no, I wasn't okay. And I was like, okay, so that doesn't matter to me in the end
Mm.
because you were able to take it away from me in a second, God. Why am I living my life around it? And so I was like, okay, what do you want me to do? So I stopped asking God, like, why did you do this to me? And what do you want me to do? Like, how can I find you through this? And so I was like, okay, God, this is obviously not my plan. So go ahead and take the reins, like, do whatever you want. And so I watched him, like, he just told me, like, one night he just told me, he was like, Rose, I want you to start a podcast. And I was like, that's such a bad idea. That's not happening. I'm 14. I'm not starting a podcast. That's embarrassing. Like, people are going to make fun of me. And he was like, no, start a podcast. And I was like, I mean, I already didn't listen to you once. I might as well listen to you this time. And so I started a podcast, and he was like, I want you to start writing a book. And I was like, that's a very bad idea. Not going to do that because, like, I don't know how to write a book. And so, but I just had this feeling, and I was like, okay, he's telling me to do this. And so I was able to start my podcast. I didn't start my podcast till like June. So by that point, I was already in the water and all that stuff, but I had like to set it up and like do kind of that stuff. But I was like, okay, so now I have the podcast. But if I never would have went through that injury, I wouldn't have the podcast. I wouldn't be writing my
Hmm.
book. And then when we went to Mexico, I met Eileen, and she was like, Rose, I want you to, and she like talked to me a lot, and she like gave me some encouraging things. But then when we met, or when I saw her again in September at FHL, she was like, I want you to keep writing your book and have it done by FHL in February. So that's when it's gonna be like out.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, I have a lot of work to do because I don't have many like months to finish writing a book and publishing it and all that stuff. But no, so that's kind of like my story is that like mainly just trusting that God has a plan and that He will
Hmm.
take away if you are not focused on Him, which definitely
And it's not
happened.
taking away for a bad reason. It's more
Right.
like when you see your kid do something dangerous and you're like, no, 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 like stay focused. Like he's helping you because he knows where his ultimate goal has you headed and he knows how happy you'd be there. And he's
Hmm.
like, no, 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 like stay on the right path because it's so much better than the path you're trying to walk on your own blindly.
Right. Yeah. He's like, this is not, it's not going to work and it's going to hurt you. So he brings you to where you're safer. And I think sometimes we don't see that because I was like, no, it's not going to work. This is a very bad idea. And he was like, no, trust me. And I think trusting in God is really hard. And I was reading, and it was like Hebrews, I think 6:3, and it was like, "In these things we will do if God permits." And I was like, "You let this happen to me? Like, why would you let this happen to me?" And that was something I questioned a lot. And now I just see, okay, there's a reason everything happens, and
Hmm.
it's all for His good, and it's all for good. Like, it might not make sense, but it will eventually. And maybe it won't make sense till we get to heaven. You see, oh wow, that all fell into
Hmm.
place.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of excited to like go to heaven, like see how every little detail like fell exactly how it was supposed to fall.
Also, something that like is very curious to me is that in heaven, you won't be in your normal body because you can't have like a
Mhm.
human body because this is for
Right.
Earth, So how much different will you feel?
Hmm.
It'll be like it won't even be like a feeling, because you'll be
Right.
like a spirit or have a different body. Or, we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
But like how much more realization will you have now that you don't have actually like being restrained down by Earth?
Hmm.
Like, because when you're on Earth, you can be tempted.
Hmm.
But when you're actually just spirit and you actually can't be tempted, you'll be like, oh man, that makes a lot of sense. Like, how many things will we look
Hmm.
back on and be like, why did I do that?
Yeah. You'll
Like,
be
that was
free from
so
all of that.
silly, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be cool going to heaven and just seeing everything and like, because we have no idea. Like, we have like some ideas, like we know kind of a little bit, but we have like not the full picture at all. So it'll be. I think God makes it that way. Is He doesn't. I talked to this about like with Malcolm, is that he doesn't show us everything, so that we have to believe and have faith. We don't know. Like, he didn't call us here to be
Hmm.
knowers of everything. He called us here to be believers. I think that's kind of cool. It's like, well, I trust God and I believe that He's here and He's helping me, but I don't see it all the time. Like, I feel we don't always see. Like, we're like, oh well. I was talking this with Malcolm. I was like, well, we don't see the like, we can't see the air, we can't see the wind, but we can see it moving things, and we can like feel its presence. And I was like, that's how
Hmm.
God is. We can feel Him.
Yes.
We can't always see Him, and like sometimes the world is really dark. I'm like, I can't see God in this. And it's like, then there's those little things. And so it's like, well, He is here. He just needs us to be believers and not knowers.
And it's not even probably truly faith if you know exactly how
Right.
it works.
Mm-hmm.
Because faith is stepping out, not knowing for sure, but just believing, almost like delusionally believing that
Mm-hmm.
like it's gonna work out. I'm trusting God. And then when you step out in faith and it just works, and it doesn't work unless you actually have that unreal level of faith,
Mm-hmm.
that like it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because how my dad puts it, and how like we talk about it, it's like there's actually like a science to how like the spirit world and all this works.
Mm-hmm.
Now the thing is, it's way more complicated and we don't understand it.
Right.
But that's why like prayer is actually important. And it's not like, well, if God already knows everything, why do I need to say anything in prayer? It's because it actually has real effects and it
Mm-hmm.
does things. And then when you like avoid sin, that's important, because when you're in sin, actual like spiritual things happen, you know? So like all these things are happening and we have no idea how it kind of works. We only know bits and pieces. And
Right.
so if you just trust God, He'll have it work out for you. And He'll give you also like revelations and teach you things. And you'll be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and what you talked about, like with prayer, is it's a relationship, not a religion. Like, we have a relationship with God. It's not that we read the Bible and we go to church and show up pretending that, like, oh, well, I'm a Christian and I go to church every week and like all this stuff. Because my youth pastor was telling me the other day, he was like, Rose, there's going to be people in heaven or in hell who never smoked, who never cussed, who went to church, but they never had a relationship with God. I think prayer is a very good way to have a relationship with God because you're talking to Him.
Hmm.
Like, say you're dating someone but you never talk to them, you're not going to have a strong relationship. Like, that's
Yeah.
not how that works. But if you're talking to God, you're going to have a strong relationship, just like you have with a human, but you'd have it even more because you have it with God. And I feel like just talking to God, and yes, He knows, but there's still that communication, because when you talk to Him and then you sit there by yourself in silence and you listen to Him, because a lot of times we'll like pray and be like, okay, Jesus, thank you for my day, thank you for all this, and then we'll go away. Like, thank you,
Hmm.
I'm so happy, I'm living my life, and you'll just go away. And you're not like sitting there talking to Him, like, these are my struggles, this is what's going on, what am I supposed to do about it? And like talk to Him. Yes, He might not give you a clear answer, like da 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 da, but He will show you, and you'll start to see it kind of like go along. Does that kind of make sense?
Hmm.
That kind of
Totally.
makes sense.
And
Like,
also, He'll do things that you probably won't even realize until long after.
for
Like
sure.
oh, can I tell you a cool story?
Sure,
So
go
we
ahead.
just went down to like Galveston. It's like on the bottom of Texas, basically.
Okay, yeah.
And we stayed at a friend's house. And when we were there, I was like, I want to go fishing because they have this long beach and it's kind of shallow. And so you can go pretty
That's
far out and then you can cast and catch really cool fish. And like we saw
fun.
dolphins just like off the
That's
beach.
cool.
It's crazy. And you can see fish and it's it's insane. And I was like, I'm gonna catch a shark. It's gonna happen. And he's like, yeah, I've caught like a shark before out here. They swim around out there, which is terrifying because you have to walk
Right.
in the water.
You're in it.
But
Yeah. It's
I just was so focused on a shark. I'm like, shark, shark, shark. I'm gonna get a shark. I fished the whole entire day and I got like one fish that wasn't a shark. And I was like, I didn't even know this fish existed. Okay, that's fine. Next day, I fished the entire freaking day and we're about to leave because we weren't staying there for very long. And I'm like, I'm just gonna keep casting until they're like, Maverick, it's time to go. We have to go. And even when they said that, I'd probably do one more cast. And I'm like, Tucker, this one, I'm gonna catch a shark. I cast it out there and I'm waiting and I'm like, I have to catch a shark. There's no way I don't. And then the pole goes crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh, something's happening. And I start reeling and it's going crazy. And the pole's like bending like crazy. I'm
Right.
like, oh my gosh, what did I get? Did I get a shark? And I pull it and then the slack goes loose. And I'm like, oh. But then I look and it's still moving. The shark was just in the water right next to us. And I'm like,
That's
ah!
so
So I
fun.
start reeling even faster and I pull it up and I caught like this hammerhead shark. And it was like a little one. It was like this
Yeah.
big about, but I was like, I caught a freaking shark. This is the coolest thing ever. And that's like a Jesus moment for sure. Now,
Yeah.
some people could be like, that's just a coincidence. But I'm not going to even view it as that way
Right.
because why would I do that? And I truly believe that he like helped me catch that shark and that he made it happen because that's just insane. And the fact that I was thinking that and then that happened is like Jesus, like, here you go, just take
Yeah.
this. This is cool. And so that's like something that happened more recently that I think is cool because now I can
Yeah.
like brag and be like, I caught a shark,
For sure.
But there's been tons of things throughout my life that have just been impossible to just happen normally
Hmm.
that happen only because of God. There's no
Yeah.
other explanation.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. So can I tell a story? I love
Yes.
stories. Stories are fun. Okay. So, and you'll like understand this one. So when we were, so Carson like does the funnel building stuff, and so he like won the award last year for like being certified in all the funnels. I don't really know what the term they mean, but you understand what I'm talking about. And
Mhm.
so last year I went to the FHL just for that one day, watch him walk across the stage. I went home. And so that was like the little part I saw. I was like, "Ooh, cool! This is cool." I kind of knew what they were doing. I kind of didn't. I was talking to Bodie about this the other day. I thought they were selling like funnels that you pour water into, and like yeah. So I was
I
like,
thought
not.
that too. I was like,
Why
what
did
the
we
heck
all
is a
think that?
funnel?
Yes,
Like, I was
it
so
was so
confused.
bad. Yeah, no. And so I was like, okay, cool, Carson, do whatever you want. I don't care. And so then we got to this year, and I was like, and Carson like had met some people last year, and so he's business partners with this guy. And he was like, "Do you want to go to Mexico because they couldn't go?" And so our family got to go to Mexico because of his business partners. And I was like, "Wow, that's cool." I went to Mexico. I was thinking like I'm just gonna go to Mexico because it's the beach. Like I wasn't really thinking about like I'm gonna learn things, I'm gonna meet people, like that kind of stuff. And I had started a podcast just before them because God told me to start a podcast, and so I started a podcast. And I was like, "Okay." Now I had one episode, and so I was like telling people about my one episode. And I was like, well, this is really cool. And I met so many people and all this stuff. And I was like really inspired to keep going with my podcast and then write my book. And so then we went to this, then we won the ticket there. Carson like won the ticket and they
I
allowed our whole
remember
family to
that.
go. And I was like, the fact that that happened, like I had no like idea like what was even happening. And so then we were able to go to Fun Hacking Live in September. And like I talked to Eileen and she was like, start your like keep writing your book, have it out. And I met all these people that I'm going to have my podcast. Like Russell's going to be on my podcast and Trent Shelton's going to be on my podcast and like all these people. And I was like, okay, God. And now we are leaving. What's today? Is today
Today's the
it's the
4th.
4th? We're leaving the 9th? I don't know what days are. We're leaving the 10th. We're heading to Idaho for Carson Has a Mastermind. And I
Really?
was, yeah, because he's like with like the sales team thing. And so he has a mastermind. And so I'm going to go up there and do podcasts with people. And I was like, okay, God, I have no idea what the next like few months are going to look like, especially with writing my book and having that published and all that stuff. And I was like, but the fact that I went from last year thinking that they were selling little funnels to this year being able to be like, I still don't have any idea how to create a funnel or anything like that. That does not make sense
Same.
to me. As I don't know what you're doing, but that's cool. But I can meet those people and I can have my podcast and share God's word. And I was like, in the end, what is your goal? Is to share God's word and bring people closer to Christ. Like that's my end goal. And I was like, but these people have figured out a way to make money and so that they can have a stable life and they can help others. And I was like, okay. And so that's just kind of a cool story as I was like, this wouldn't have worked out if it wasn't God. Like it was God
Hmm.
because I wouldn't have been able to go from last year barely knowing like any of this stuff. I still barely know any of that stuff. But I've met all these people and I'm like, okay. And these people are like helping me along. So like Russell's son, he's like, yeah, you got this, like keep working on this stuff, like motivates me to like do that stuff. Because I'm like, okay, it's not gonna make sense sometimes. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. So like, well, what if my podcast like maxes out at like 500 listeners? Like, what if it never like goes any higher or something like that? And it's like, okay, well, what if it does that? It's fine, but you help somebody. And so it's like, just keep moving on forward with that. That's kind of my little
Yeah.
story of like God.
And then also like when you I think it's probably easier because some people go on these journeys not even knowing that God set them on them. But you were
Mm-hmm.
like, no, God put me here,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives you probably a lot of extra confidence that it's all going to
Mm-hmm.
work out even more than
Right.
normal because you're like, it's all just combining to make this ultimate story that when you're older you'll be able to share with people and write even more books and do
Right.
world-changing things, you know? And
Yeah.
so and that's not normal too. Like you have
Right.
so much opportunity, not even just you, but
Like as.
everyone nowadays has so much
Mhm.
opportunity, especially in the ClickFunnels community.
Oh, for sure.
It's incredible because you can do literally anything.
Mhm.
Some of the things people are doing are crazy. And you can either make a whole bunch of money, you can teach people about God, or you could do both, plus a ton of extra things. And so it's really cool to see that that's like the path that you're going down, like
Yeah.
because you don't even need to know how to build a funnel. The
Right.
community itself and just knowing all the people there is what's even more valuable than the funnels themselves.
Yeah, for sure. And like your mom, it was so funny because like the first day of FHL, I was just like standing. We were like all about to get on the buses, but we were also like all really early, and the buses were late or whatever. I don't know. But we were just standing out there, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the lady who did the bucket thing at FHL, that or not FHL, but the Mexico thing." I was like, "That's the lady that got on stage and had the buckets." And my mom was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." I did not know at that point that it was your mom. I think I kind of knew, but I was like, also like, I don't know who this lady
We
is.
were actually really bummed out because they had like a delay. And so there
Mhm.
was like about four other games that were even more fun than the bucket game that we were going to play. And then my mom was like, "It's fine. I'm just saving my games up for next time."
But I was like, that's the lady, and I was so excited. And I like walk up to her, and we're like talking to her, and she was like, wait, and I think we were accountability partners that week, and she's like, that's so funny, that's my son. I was like, oh, the puzzle pieces are clicking. And I was just like, every day, um, I would ride there on the bus with her, like next to her, because there were like seats, two people seats. And so I would ride her with her every day there and back. So we had like a total of like 4 hours of talking because of just the bus rides, because, you know.
That's so funny and that's so random.
Yeah. And I was like, that's so cool.
That is so cool. And but like none of it would have probably happened if you didn't sprain your leg, really. Because
Mhm.
it maybe could have, but if you that didn't happen, and let's say you actually crushed your swimming thing, let's say was it like a contest?
It was like, okay, so it was like a competition, but I
Okay.
probably could have, oh wait,
Well, let
here's I
yeah,
have like background to this. Okay, so if I would have been fine, I probably would have made it to a different meet that was the same week as Mexico, and I would have gone to this meet over Mexico.
that's what I was just thinking because you
Mm-hmm.
probably would have crushed it, and then you would have won or got at least like
Like
really
the
high up
time,
there,
yeah.
and then because of that you would have went on a probably good path of like being a good swimmer and an athlete and
Mhm.
whatever. But because of that, you would have missed something that's even more important.
Right. So yeah, now that I'm thinking about that, yeah, I would have probably gotten a time that I could have gone to a meet, and I would have chosen to go to that meet over going to Mexico for sure because that's where my brain was. And I would never have met your mom because then I would have been like, I don't know who this lady is. I probably wouldn't have gone. I would have probably maybe I don't know gone to um what is it called? The Las Vegas. I was like, I don't even know where they're at. Las Vegas. But hey, there was like all those tickets in there, and maybe like my ticket was the one that like moved over Carson. So like if my tickets wouldn't have been in there because I didn't go to Mexico, maybe he wouldn't have won the ticket, and like we wouldn't have
Hmm.
gone. Like
So many things that make it like so impossible, but it happened.
right,
And that's the cool part.
right, because God tells us that anything's possible for him, like through him. And all that. That's a cool. I
And
didn't think about it, like all that stuff.
yeah. And now I want to look back and like think about things that I've been able to do that
Hmm.
probably wouldn't have happened if I actually focused on what I was doing at the time. Like unless something bad happened and diverted me to the correct path, I would have went this completely opposite way and wouldn't have gotten to where I am right now.
Yeah. Yeah, because I still swim, and I'm just not as, like, I'm still into it, I still like it, I still compete and all that, but I'm not all of my time there because I realize that God can take it away in a second, so I don't wanna spend all my life chasing that. I wanna spend my life chasing God and showing others Him. And so I feel like I still like swimming. I'm not getting, like, better. I'm not getting worse. Like, I'm just kinda, like, staying the same because I'm not, like, going to as many practices, but I'm also working on my book or doing a podcast or stuff like that.
And the thing is, we don't know either. Maybe you'll
Mhm.
end up that will be your purpose, or the
Right,
thing that like maybe you'll become a professional swimmer. Maybe not, but
right,
even if that happens, maybe the reason you needed to take a break and focus on a book and a podcast is because it gives you connections to eventually meet some person who you
mhm,
share God with, or like all these anything can happen.
right.
We don't know, and
Yeah,
God does, and so
that's yeah,
that's what's important.
for sure, like, he has a plan, and ultimately, it's gonna be better because I definitely found that during my injury, I was like, "Your plan's way better than mine," and I think about that, like, a lot because I speak at different, like, events and places, and so the other day, I was able to give my, like, testimony in front of, like, 200 kids, and it was like I was talking to them, and I was like, "God has a plan, and you're gonna have to just trust him because it's not gonna make sense, because if he showed you the whole plan, you'd be like, 'No, I'm good, I wanna run away from that.' But he's like, 'I'm gonna show you this little bit, and it's not gonna make sense, but he understands, and we're not supposed to understand everything. So let him understand it, and you just follow him and trust him all the way.
Hmm. Totally.
Because it's not going to make sense. It definitely does
It's
not make sense.
not. And then
No.
maybe even if it did make sense, it's more important, like if like you're raising a kid, let's say, and like Judah, my little sister, she'll be like, "Hey Maverick, can you make me food?" And I'm like, she's way younger than me, and I could totally make her food and it'd be way easier. But I'll say like, "No, you can make it yourself. Like you're responsible, you're big." She's like, and she doesn't even know how to make it. I'm like, Judah, first figure out what you want to make. And she's like,
Mhm,
okay. She's like, I want to make like Egos or something. I don't know. And then I'm like, okay, it's really simple. All you got to do is get the Egos out. She's like, okay. She gets them out. And I'm like, now you just got to put them in the toaster. She's like,
mhm,
okay, I'll put the Egos in the toaster. And then I'm like, then when it's done, you just put it on a plate, put syrup on it. There you go. And then she's like, oh, that wasn't hard. But to her mind, it was overstimulating, just thinking
mhm.
about doing it. But then one step at a time, plus then also afterwards, the confidence she gained of like, I can do it myself now is also really important. And that's the exact same, that's like a smaller version of, I feel like, what
Mhm.
God does to us.
That was a really good way to put it. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
he
can
puts
change
us
out the egos with any other food item.
right. No, but he, like, puts us through different steps, and it doesn't, like, when you see it in the beginning, it's like, "Wow, that's really gonna be hard, and it's gonna be tough," and I think that's how I am with my book because I was like when I started writing it, I was like, "This is gonna be so hard," because I have like 100 days until like FHL starts. And I was like, I have to have my book published, edited, like all that stuff finished. I haven't had like finished yet. And I was like, I have so much to do with this. Like it's stressful. But I was like, I'm just going to take it one step at a time and trust that it'll all work out. And it's not going to be perfect. Yeah, there'll probably be spelling mistakes. Let's be so for real. I'm a 14-year-old trying to write a book. There's probably going to be mistakes. And that's okay because God did not make us perfect. Like it's going to be fine. And so I'm like, okay, it's gonna be okay. And just taking a step back, like, okay, looking at the progress you've made. So especially like when you're making your Egos, like, okay, look, I put it in the toaster. Let's celebrate the little steps. And like celebrating the little steps is really important because it's like you made it to where you are. Like God helped you. Like give God all the credit, but know that you have made it to where you are. And it's like, okay, we'll make it to the next step, we'll make it to the next step, and eventually you'll make it. But definitely taking time in those little steps. I've definitely learned that because like my podcast hit like 350 downloads or something, and I was like super happy. And I was kind of like, okay, that's not a lot. Like to some people, I was like, okay, Rose, I get that in one day. But it's like, okay, that's a start and that's a step. And so I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
God, thank you for the steps because if I didn't go through these steps, then I wouldn't have the final product.
And if you wake up every day acting like it's the first day, which it is, like, because
Mm-hmm.
people soak on the past and be like, oh, all this stuff happened to me. It's like, no, focus on right now. And if you
Mhm,
wake up and then you look and you're like, wow, I have 300 downloads. That's way better than starting out with 0 downloads.
mhm,
And if you act that way every single day, eventually you'll wake up and be like, oh, 1 million downloads. Well, that's good. Let's see if we can get it to 2 million.
mhm,
Let's see if we can go
yeah,
and keep growing and growing and just getting better, you know?
mhm, yeah, so each month I try to have more downloads than I had the month before, and I was like, and if you just keep doing that, you might have some months that are, like, lower, it's like, "That's okay, try it again."
Hmm.
And I feel like I talked to a lot of people about this, I'm like, "If you're this vision, this dream that you have, if it matters to you, then you will keep trying, but if it
Hmm.
doesn't, then you won't keep trying. We'll see how it actually meant to you when you go through hard times." And we were talking about, with Bodhi, I was talking about, like, turbulence, and I was like, "There's gonna be, like, turbulence, there's gonna be hard times before you get to the destination." Because I feel like with airplanes, like, right before you get to the destination, there's turbulence, especially with, going into Las Vegas, it was crazy, and I was like, "Okay, you had to go through that, and then you got to the destination." So there's gonna be rough patches. I've definitely found that in my business, I'm sure you have too, where it's like, there's a rough patch, and then
Oh
it's like,
yeah.
"Okay, it got
And
better."
the only hardest part about flying is just taking off.
Mm,
Because once you're actually in the air, like you already started writing your book and started a podcast, but
mhm,
just to do that is the hardest part. And then
right,
from there, you just learn way faster and you're in motion.
mhm. Yeah, and I feel like with starting a podcast and starting like even being an entrepreneur as a kid is scary because there's a lot of people who are going to judge you, like whether it's your friends or whether it's adults because they're like, you can't do this. We went to like a business conference thing the other day and it was not ClickFunnels. Like it was crazy. It was like it was like a place around here. And I saw it. I was like, a lot of these people don't believe that I can do this. Like a lot of the people were like closed minded in the fact that they were like, you're 14, you have a podcast. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, that's why. Why aren't you just doing school? I was like, okay. So don't let the people discourage you just because they don't see your vision. I was writing about this morning. Just because they don't see your vision doesn't mean that you shouldn't follow through with your vision. Because God gave it to
Hmm.
you. Trent Shelton talks about this a lot. God gave it to you. He didn't give it to them. Like, so you do your vision and trust that, okay, God, this is my vision. This is what you put in my life. This is mine. This is not theirs. Do not let them change how you feel on this. Okay, keep going with it. Because, yeah, a lot of people have made fun of me for my podcast. That's fine. I don't care. That's not my fault. Okay, that's their problem.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so keep going and keep going. And it's like, this is my vision. This is what I have planned. And then eventually, like, I've had people come up to me and they're like, hey, I listened to this episode and it really helped me. And like that kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's worth way more than that person being, it looks stupid. Okay,
Yeah.
it's fine. And I think that's just kind of a cool thing I want to point out is that keep with your vision. If it's your vision, if God gave it to you, then keep going with it. And don't listen to what anybody else says because it's not theirs.
Don't listen to the haters.
Hmm. Right, because
Because
they're gonna be there forever.
if you're standing back to back with somebody and you're looking one direction and they're looking the other direction, they have completely different visions. Like
Mhm,
they're seeing completely different things. So it totally makes sense that they don't understand what each other are seeing. They can describe it like, "Hey, I have a vision of this," and the other one's like, maybe." Like, they fully. So
mhm,
people who are hating, it's literally because they don't understand the way that you understand it, and
mhm,
that's with everything. That's why people argue. Usually, people argue over things that they both agree on.
mhm.
They're just not explaining their vision correctly to
Yeah.
each other.
They don't, like, see the other person's side.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I feel like that's how a lot of, like, the problems with the world are now is that everybody's looking for, like, what they can see, and they're not letting anybody else's ideas in. So, yeah, I
Hmm.
listen to the people, like, that are telling me, like, "Oh" like, okay, so when people are telling me, "Oh, I don't like your podcast," and all that stuff, I'm like, "Okay, what do you not like about it?" And I take those things in, like, "Okay." But I'm not gonna let those, like, sit you give words, like, words that you, like okay, how am I gonna say this? You give words power. So, like, someone
Hmm.
can say, "I hate you." You can either take that or you can, like, "Okay, you hate me and God loves me, I'm fine with that." And so I feel like you give words power. And so if someone's gonna comment and be like, "This is a dumb podcast," it's like, "Okay, what's dumb about it? How can I help it to be more to your liking?" So people then they stop, they're like, "Oh, well, there's actually nothing wrong with it. I just wanted to comment that." It's like, "Okay, then have a good day. See ya." But
You turn
taking
their
that
negativity into something that's actually good and useful for
right.
you.
Yeah, I feel like they talk about that in ClickFunnels. It's like, why did you say no to like my sales offer, stuff like that, so you can become better. Like take that negativity and turn it into something you can become better.
Which for them is like a completely reverse, because a lot of times when you write a hate comment or something, people are just looking for they want to be involved in it. There's
Mhm.
a lot of hate comments are they're not deep. They're just like,
Right.
I don't like it. And then you're like, okay, why? Tell me, I want to improve. They're like, because now it's like homework. They're like,
Yeah.
never mind. I just leave me alone. And then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, they're gone, so that's good. Or they're actually like, no, there's a serious problem. And you're like,
Mhm.
sweet, we fixed it. We're good now.
Right. Like seeing other people's like sites and like their different views is super important. Like I talk a lot about like this is what I believe, and to like non-believers, I'm like that's what you believe. This is what I believe. That's what you believe. We both have different beliefs, and that's okay. I respect your opinion. I might not believe the same thing as you. I might not support you, but I'm not gonna be mad at you or be mean to you. I'm still gonna love you the same. God didn't
Hmm.
say love all believers and hate everybody else. He said love all. So I'm like I'm still gonna
Hmm.
love
Yeah.
them. I'm not gonna be mean to them because they have a different view. That's okay. I'm still gonna love them and try to treat them and show them what I believe, but I can't make them believe what I believe. That's not I can't make them do anything. And I feel like that's
Hmm.
just sometimes hard because it's like I want everybody to believe in God and like all this stuff. You can do your best, but you have to give it all to God and be like, okay, God, you take care of this.
You're totally right.
Thank you. Yeah. So I have a question. One of my questions. Okay. When people say I think we kind of talked about this, but like hold on, let me look at this. Okay, why is your relationship with Christ so important?
Well, because it's literally the reason you were created. If you believe in God, you believe that you're here for a reason on
Mhm.
purpose. There's only one thing that knows it that's alive, and it's God. God's the only
Mhm.
one who actually knows where you're going to end up. So it's like, why not just have a connection with God?
Yeah.
Actually be like his friend and talk and like hang out, even when it's like late and you're in your bed, and you're just like, people think you're crazy because you're talking to yourself, but really you're just like, God, what do I do? And like, I am so confused right now.
Mhm.
And just like being connected to God is so important because not only is he actually care about you, he made you like for a
Mhm.
purpose. He gave you something like a task that's not only going to make you so proud of yourself, but it's going to be the happiest you've ever been.
Mhm.
And some people's tasks are really hard, and I feel like he puts different tasks based on like the circumstances that you're going to be put in. So
Sure.
like Elon Musk, who's like probably the most like high achieving man in the entire world right now, he's building like spaceships and things. His purpose is going to be different than somebody who has had a life that is way different than how he has had it, you know? And
Right.
also like he gives you things will that you're going to be good at.
Mhm.
And so why that matters to me is like I want to know what he's giving me that I'm good at and how I
Mhm.
can use that to help people.
For sure.
And I'm not going to know that unless I have an actual relationship with him.
Yeah. So then you can talk to him and you can like all of that.
Hmm.
Okay, let's see. Can you tell the story about your sister with the allergies thing?
Oh yeah. So another big part of like I've been a Christian my whole life. Ever since I was born, I was raised in a Christian household. But my youngest sister Judah, who just turned 7, she's not here right now, but her two front teeth just fell out. It's hilarious. She looks so
Mhm.
funny. She was like, Maverick, I can stick my tongue through my teeth. Um, when she was a lot younger, well, actually, ever since she was born, she has had terrible allergies. So deathly allergic to like beef, dairy, corn, soy, oranges for some reason. Don't know how that happened. But all those things, those are like big things.
Yeah. Like that are
Like
in a lot
literally, they're just in everything. Like corn and soy and dairy and beef are like the biggest food. Like they're in everything, which we
right.
didn't know until we found out. And we're like, crap, now we got to buy things that are like that. So she literally lived her whole life on gluten-free chicken nuggets for like years and years and years because there's like nothing else.
Yeah.
And then eventually we had somebody and she came up to us and his name's Joseph Z. And then Josie's wife came up and was like, hey, I felt really bad because I felt like I should pray for your daughter, but I forgot and I put it off. And now I want to pray for her right now and get her healed. And we're like, okay, like you do you, like
Mhm.
you're gonna heal Judah. Like she was just like,
Right.
yeah, I'm gonna heal her. And we're like, okay. And
Mhm.
then she sits down with Judah and she asks Judah, she says, do you want to be healed? And Judah's like, yeah. She's like, heck yeah. And so they
Eat real
pray.
food.
And then after they get done praying, she goes, okay, Judah's healed. And we're like, okay. And Judah's
Yeah.
like, I'm healed. And this is like also a God moment. It was some random church event. And there happened to be like, they're like, hey, we felt really like excited about all of you guys being here. So we're just gonna have a buffet in the back. We're like, oh, lovely. And so as soon as Judah was like, I'm healed, where does she go? Back to
Mhm.
the buffet. They didn't have one single thing that she could have eaten and been fine. She ate cookies and pizza and drank like everything that would have made her absolutely just collapse and just have diarrhea everywhere from all of her allergies. Like it would have been terrible. It would have been a
Right.
disaster. She ate all of it perfectly fine. We were like,
Crazy.
no way. Then we went to a hotel and she's thinking like, I'm healed now, so I can have ice cream, mac and cheese, all the things. And the next day we're like, okay, let's go get something. And so we go to an ice cream shop and she's eating ice cream, mac and cheese, all stuff. It did turn into a problem though, because
Right.
since she thought she was healed, she's like, oh, I can eat all food with no consequences. And then she got sick again. She's like, maybe I'm not healed. It's like, no, you just ate way too much food. Like, woman,
Right.
like slow down. You're becoming a glutton now. And she's like, okay. But that thing that happened was literally impossible. It it's impossible. She was allergic to all those things the second right before they prayed for her, and it's all gone now.
It's crazy.
She's not has no allergies. It's insane.
It's crazy. That's so cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. I feel like I had a guy on my podcast, his name's Troy. Did you listen to that episode?
I didn't.
Okay, that one's really good. He talked about how he went to a church event. He had okay, I can't like the whole story, it's very long. But he was healed and they had like he was in injury and he something with his leg and he was like not gonna be able to walk for like 6 months or 8 months or something. And he went to this church event and they prayed over him and he was able to walk. And so like
Wow.
God can work through people. And I think that's so cool, like when God works through people. Because it's like Jesus, like he isn't on earth anymore, but he's still in all of us. And I think that's special that we each can
Hmm.
do good in other people's lives, and we're each called to help other people, and all of that stuff.
And I think because we're at like almost like an hour here, so I don't want
Right,
to take up too much of your time too.
right.
But is that realizing like the best way to love people is to realize that God made them on purpose and that they are special, and also looking and seeing that there's pieces of God in all of us, in all of
Mhm,
our personalities, and understanding that will just help you be like more appreciative of people. Because sometimes
mhm,
like somebody will drive you nuts and you get super annoyed and you're like, this person is really annoying. I kind of want to punch him in the face a little bit. I'm not going to do that because that would not be good and they'd probably punch me back, but that besides the point.
mhm,
Realizing that they're like, okay, this is an actual person.
mhm,
They have gifts that nobody else in the whole world can do except for them, and they have a purpose. That just thinking that and understanding that will make you look at everyone so differently. Like a prayer that I
absolutely.
pray is like, God, like, let me see people the way that you see people.
Mhm.
And so then when I'm walking around, I don't see a bunch of strangers. I you can just see like the things.
I know what you mean.
It's just crazy because they're all
Yeah,
everyone's important. And when you think that, you're like, hey, dude, you heard about Jesus? Like,
yeah.
you just love people.
Right, because like they each have their own purpose and I could never do what they can do. And it's like so you have to respect other people because like I might be like cool in my own like little area, but I can never do what they do. And they have something that they're gonna be able to do this like for this world that I could never dream of doing because that's not what God gave me. And if that goes back to visions, is like I can't it's not my vision to do what these other people are doing. Like I couldn't do that. That's not the gift that God gave me. I talk a lot about spiritual gifts. I'm like, these are gifts that God gives us. And there are some things like building a funnel that I can't do. And maybe that's gonna be Carson's way of sharing God to other people. And I'm like, but I can't, like I might learn how to do that. But I feel like right now, where God is calling me is to speak and to do podcasts because I love talking. Like that's my thing. I like talking to people. And I feel like that's what God calls you to do. Like for me at least, is like talk to people. And there's like a lot of different ways that people can show like Jesus in their lives. And I feel like I talk a lot about how like you might be the only bit of Jesus that some people see. Like sometimes people are going to go out in the world to say it's an unbeliever and they're friends with you and you're like the only Christian they're friends with. What they see through you is like all they're going to see of God. And so talk a lot about okay, make sure that you are if you're going to call yourself a Christian, be a Christian. Like act like the way Christ would want you to act and say the things that Christ would want you to say because that might be what that person sees as Jesus. Like, well, does Jesus feel like if you walk up to someone like, hey, I hate you, and like even if you're joking, they see that and they're like, do you think God hates me? And like all that kind of stuff. Like being so true to them and being like God's true and not just be like however the world would want you to act, but act like how God would want you to act. That kind of made sense.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, do you have any more like things that you want to pull in? Because we have but we can still go for longer. It's fine. But
Well, maybe something to add would be like you can do life without God. Like people will be like they'll live their whole life like devoid of God, and they're like, "Well, I'm doing okay. Like I have a high-paying job. I can do all these things, and I'm happy. I have money. I have blah blah blah." Y- That could be true, yes, but there without God, you're literally like missing something very important. And people
mhm,
won't realize it because what they do is they'll fill that gap with other things,
mhm,
like either like pagan gods or they'll fill it in with like some people their work is like their god. Like they'll be so obsessed with work. And so people like fill in this gap that's missing in everybody with all these other things when it's not long term, really.
mhm,
And then also you won't be saved because you'll be like literally missing something when all you need to do is just focus on Jesus.
mhm. Yeah. And I feel like that's so scary because some people are like, well, I'm living my life fine. I don't need God. Like, I'm doing great. But you're going to be judged at some point when you get to judgment. And you have to know this is what I tell a lot of people about God is because if you don't know Christ and you don't have a relationship with God, you might have heard of him, but you have to know at the end that you're going to go to hell. And that's so scary because I'm not someone who's going to tell you you're going to go to hell because you don't know God.
Hmm.
I don't know what someone's relationship with Christ is. They know that. And that's scary to me because I'm like, I can't make you go to heaven. Like, I can't do that. That's not something I can do. But like knowing that if you use this life to chase after worldly things, then you're going to have the consequences.
Hmm.
But you can live this life chasing after God. And yeah, it might be hard, but I mean, all things are hard. Choose your hard, chasing after God, and then you're going to have eternity with Christ. And if you can think about living eternity without Christ and you're okay with that, then that's like really scary.
That's
Like,
a problem.
are you okay with thinking like, okay, well, this earthly thing you really like, this temptation, this whatever, is something that you really like, but you know it's taking away from God, and you're like, are you willing to give up your eternity and like being separated from God for eternity? And that's so scary because I'm like, no, absolutely not. There's nothing on this world like earth that is better than God. That's
Hmm.
not. There's nothing. And the
Also,
enemy is
reason well,
sorry.
Christianity is different than every other religion because with every other religion, your salvation is based on your works. And with Christianity, your salvation is based on the fact that Jesus died for you,
Mhm,
which is way different. And the other big difference is that you can become a Christian no matter where you are in your life. You can be a drug addict that is homeless and everything is terrible, and you can still be a Christian and still get saved. That's the crazy part that is different than any other religion. Because if you're in a different religion, I'm not going to name any because I don't want to make people angry with me.
right.
But in like, it's just so crazy how unaccepting people are based on your circumstances, which is the opposite of Christianity. Now, where Christianity goes wrong, a lot of churches they'll be kind of judgy, and that's like not what church is supposed to be.
Mhm,
There's supposed to be a place where they can accept everyone, bring them in, and then get them to know God. Because from them knowing God, whatever problems that are in their life will just be figured out by themselves, like between
absolutely.
them and God. And when
Mhm,
people try to step in the way of that and be like, you can't have a relationship with God because you're not wearing clean clothes, or you're not this, or you're on drugs, you do bad things. That's where it goes really wrong. And that's what a lot of people like get turned off from. They're like, I'm not going to church. These people won't let me in. They're like judging me. It's like, no, just focus on Jesus. And then if also you're the person that's judging people, like stop doing that. Love on them.
Yeah, for sure. Like when you walk into a church, I definitely have this with my church is that when I walk in, I know that no matter anything, like I could walk in wearing sweatpants and they'd be like, "Hey, Rose, it's good to see you." I could walk in wearing a nice outfit. Like, it doesn't matter. Whatever like I walk in as, like no matter what, they're always gonna accept me. And that's how God is God accepts wherever you are in life. Like he accepts the person who is doing great in life, who's made a whole bunch of money, all that stuff, and he accepts the person who is sitting on the side of the road and has no money, barely has enough money to buy clothes. Like he accepts no matter what. And he died for you no matter what. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. Is they're like, well, I'm better than this person because I have a lot of money and I get to go on trips and all this stuff. I'm like, no, you are not. God died for you both. And I hate to break it to you, but you are not any better than them. You guys are equal. And that's hard because a lot of people are prideful in that way. And they're like, well, no, I'm better because all of this and all this. I'm like, your worldly possessions have nothing from what God has with that like person.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like he died for both of you. So he died. And not just for the good person, not for like the person who's perfect, but for both of you.
And some people don't understand what he died for you means. So like that's kind of
Mhm.
morbid, which
Right.
it kind of is. Like you can look at videos of like what it would have looked like.
Mhm.
So like what happened to him, what it would have looked like on his body. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's the most painful thing in like the whole world. And what it is basically all of human history. God was basically like you had to sacrifice stuff because the Old Testament was wild. It was
Yeah.
like the Wild West kind of a little bit.
Mhm.
And everyone basically had to sacrifice for their sins. And that was
Mhm.
basically them washing away their sins. It was putting the sins on something else. And that's kind of like, you know how like the science of like how spiritual things work, like that needed to happen. You
Mhm.
needed to do that. And then Jesus comes along and he's the perfect sacrifice. He's perfect. He's never sinned. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's all human and all God at the same time, which is impossible, but nothing's impossible when you're God, you know?
Mhm.
And he dies for our sins. And what that is just throughout all of time, history, everyone is saved in that exact moment. Well, actually, no, you're not saved, but now you don't need to sacrifice other things. You can just make a decision in your heart and then speak with your mouth. And then in that exact moment, you can repent,
Mhm.
which is just so bizarre and insane. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think where a lot of people get messed up though is they're like, okay, well, I was baptized. I believe in God. Like, I was baptized. I'm saved. I will go to heaven. But then everything they do after that is not what, like, they don't have a relationship with God after that. Like, yeah, they got baptized. Okay. But did you truly accept Christ into your heart? Like, did you every day when I get up, I'm like, okay, am I going to live today for God or for the world? Because that's a decision you have to make every day, every moment. Is like, okay, who am I living for? And I think a lot of people get messed up there because they're like, well, I went to church, I'm going to go to heaven. That's not how that works. And so I think that that's hard because a lot of people don't like totally, they might understand that a little bit, but they aren't willing to think about it. And then someday your life's going to end and you're not going to have time to think about it.
Hmm.
That's hard, but
Or you're going to think about it in your last moments and be very upset that you didn't spend more time doing the things that you should have done.
absolutely. I feel like
Yeah.
when I die, I want to like, okay, this is gonna sound weird. I don't want to regret what I did. I want to regret what I didn't. Like, I want to not. Okay, hold on, that sounded really bad. Like, when I die, I want to make sure that I have accomplished a whole bunch of things. Yes, I'm probably not. I'm gonna have things that I regret doing, but I would rather have things that I regret doing than things I didn't do. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, okay, yeah, I made a mistake, but because of that, I became better and I learned and I met Christ through those things and I had a
You'd
relationship with
rather be
God.
on your deathbed like, man, I shouldn't have started that one book. It was like a side book, a side project. I'm
Mhm.
not talking about your current book. I think this one's gonna
No.
crush it. But you're like, yeah, that one just didn't hit. But that's a
Mhm.
better feeling than being like, man, I should have just tried to write a book. I should have
Yeah,
tried to do something
exactly.
because you don't know.
Mhm.
And
Right.
that's a horrible feeling.
Absolutely. For sure. Yeah, you made that sound a lot better than what I sounded like. But yeah, I think that's just at the end, I want to think about like, okay, I did a lot of things and I did all for God, not for me.
Mhm.
But yeah, do you have anything else you want to add? An hour.
Not at the moment.
Yeah, and we can
Maybe
always do another episode. So,
totally, whatever you want. And maybe we could be like have like a specific category
mhm.
on something that we want to talk about and then we like go deep on that one thing.
Yeah, for
So that
sure.
way somebody who's like watching can be like, I want to learn about this. And then it's like,
Mhm.
oh, man, like she has a podcast just for this. Oh, that's
Mhm.
so cool.
Yeah, we can even do like a study into like one of the chapters of the Bible or something like that.
Totally. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for being on here. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, is that all you have for right now?
Hmm.
Okay, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And bye.